Today, we're joined by singer, songwriter, and multi-instrumentalist Emily E. Finke, known for her indie classical flair, vintage vibes, and the heartfelt single Daddy Was a Soldier. Emily's here to talk craft, courage, and the music behind the message. Let's dive in. This program is part of the Scene Project's podcast network. The Scene Project features interviews with independent musicians, comedians, and artists from across the Midwest. Become part of our community and support local art wherever you are. Well, welcome into another exciting episode of The Scene. I'm your host, Bubba Startz, and with me today is Emily E. Finke. Welcome to the show, Emily.
Thank you so much. I'm so happy to be here.
Well, we are pleased to have you here all the way from sunny Florida. I mentioned it's a little bit warmer than it probably is in South Dakota today. Although it's not winter yet, you can feel it coming. So before we get too far into everything, I would love to just give you the floor and allow you to give us a little bit of your backstory.
Well, like you said, I'm a musician and a singer-songwriter. I got into music almost 20 years ago when I was 6 years old, and I just fell in love with everything about it. I have touched on pretty much every aspect of the industry that there is, from playing music, performing it at live shows and in classical settings and concerts and orchestras, to writing music, composing music, recording music. I produce and mix. I'm learning how to master at the moment. I just am in love with everything to do with music, and I can't imagine doing anything else with my life. You know, it was just a calling that I felt God put on my heart so many years ago to stick with. I play. I've lost track of how many instruments I play, and I sing as well. Like I said, I'm a singer-songwriter. I've won a couple of awards with the International Singer-Songwriters Association, ISA. I won an award this year for Sound Engineer of the Year, and I'm just so grateful for that and the community with them. And just recently, I collaborated with another ISA artist from Australia. We wrote and released a song called Legends on October 16th, and we're just so proud of it. And it seems to be getting such wonderful reviews and accolades from our fans and from critics. And so we're just so grateful for that.
Fantastic. I am also an ISA member, although I have not been to the awards show. I was a little late getting with Tammany to get down and cover the event this year, but I hope to be there next year. I'm actually, as we record this, I'm a few days away from heading to Nashville for the Josie Music Awards. My first time covering that event as well. My first time actually going to Nashville, and I'll be working at the Grand Ole Opry. I feel like somebody needs to pinch me. What is this dream here? Fantastic. I mean, a lot to cover in there. I love that you found it so early, right? I say a lot on the show that I've been singing since I could talk, but I really didn't find music as like a viable career until I'd kind of like, I was doing it, right? Like I was busking on the street and I was like, oh, I have value doing this, but never really pursued it in the professional capacity beyond just, you know, playing bar shows and doing those things. And I'm almost 40. So the world that I grew up in and what we were told we had to do was much different than it is now. That also happens to be an impetus for why I started the Midwest Original Music Organization, so we could educate, you know, even people younger than you that are just starting out that want to pursue these careers, right? Like the days of chasing a record deal or that, like those are so far gone now. And it's really about, well, how do you really, you know, focus on making a business? What side of music do you like to do? Are you more of a performer? Do you enjoy the process of the recording and production and all of these other things maybe a little bit more? There's so many avenues that one can make a career in music these days.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And like you said, you know, those days of chasing the record deal is very far gone, but yet there doesn't seem to be that much information available to indie artists of how to not do that. And you know, that's something that I've become so passionate about. I started my indie record label a few years ago, and I just have really wanted to try and help other indie artists in with information, you know, ISA has been so amazing in that, in how open the community is in sharing information and helping each other and being a part of that. Because I remember what it was like being, you know, doing my first recording session, trying to get my music out there for the first time. And there's so many secrets and so much information that they don't want to tell you in the industry, you know, coming from the record labels and the mainstream way of doing things. But it's so different as an indie artist. And so just trying to sort of get rid of some of these secrets and help people to realize that, you know, just like being, you know, I was told at one point that my music was an industry standard, and I'm so grateful that I had somebody in my corner who was in the industry going, don't listen to that, there is no such thing as industry standard. You can make music however you want to, you can do this however you want to, it's personal between you and your fans. And so just trying to, you know, get rid of some of the stigmas, I guess, in the industry, and encouraging people to look, if you're passionate about it, you can do it and you can find your own path in this.
And what's so funny about that industry standard is that you look at all the superstars that are out there today, the Lainey Wilsons, the Jelly Roll, even a Post Malone, that they are superstars because they broke the mold and because they were different, and they had very rabid fan bases long before they ever achieved that superstardom and the industry was even interested in them, right? So I think if
Right.
anything, those are success stories to look at and be like, no, just go do your own thing, build up, connect with people, right? Because that's what music and why
Absolutely.
music is so important. You know, my newest album, it's available on my website now. It's not even on the streaming platforms first. You
Hmm.
know, I've never, you know, been someone who's pushing people to Spotify to listen to our music. If you happen to find it there and you're, you know, Googling around and looking for starts and ends and you happen to find it, God bless you. Okay. If you listen there, that's great. But ultimately, I would rather have you showing up at my shows, buying tickets directly from me, buying the album directly on our website, right? I'll sell you a digital download of it right now, and teaching people that, like, this is what's possible. Treat your
Hmm.
music business like a business, and don't fall for some of the traps that the industry has set to help to for you to help them make money, right? Like you're
Yeah,
driving
absolutely.
you're driving your listeners and your fans to Spotify so they can listen to your song after you've listened to three other songs that they didn't necessarily want to hear. And sometimes they never even make it to your song, right? So it's the education part that's become so important for me, and sounds like for you too. Even you reached that point, you know, much earlier in your career than I did.
Yeah.
So Emily, what are you working on right now? Is it more stuff that's behind the scenes, or do you have a new album that's coming up soon? What's kind of a top of mind for you right now?
Oh, still just sort of working on our new release that just came out on the 16th. There's still so much to do. Like you said, it is a business. And, you know, when that song comes out, that isn't the end. There is still so much work to do in promoting it and getting it on the played on the radio and things. So we're still, you know, busy at work on that, as well as plenty of projects behind the scenes. There's a long laundry list of things, and I don't think I'd be able to get to them all in my life. But there's always something on the burners that what's being worked on. I have some ideas for an album for next year, but I definitely have a couple of original songs that I'm working on recording that will at least be released as singles, hopefully the beginning of next year.
Yeah, that's what's so crazy about this industry is that it's such a monumental task to, first of all, be inspired enough to write a song, and then to get the wherewithal and to get it recorded, you know, and to
Mhm.
have something that's viable to deliver. But then after it's ready to deliver, it's another monumental task. Like it's just mountains on top of mountains that you're
It is.
climbing. And then it's by the time you got that one out and you've spent 6 months, you know, promoting it, it's time to do it all over again with another track and to keep things fresh for people. And what
Mhm.
a crazy industry to have a passion for at the
It
end of the
really is.
day.
You have to wear so many hats as an indie artist.
Mhm.
And so I feel like by the time I've gone through the whole process of a release, from writing the song all the way through recording it and releasing it and all the press afterwards, that I've forgotten, like, oh, how do you write a song? It's been so long. I have to go back and get into that creativity again. And it's always a learning process in wearing so many hats and how to balance everything so that it doesn't feel like you're just all consumed by one thing at one time, which is so easy to do because when you're the indie artist and you're the only one doing it, you it's all day long. That is your job to do that thing, whatever step of the process you're in. And so finding ways to balance that, because as creatives, I can't speak for everybody, but I know at least for myself, like the business part is something that has to be done. If it's going to get done, you have to learn how to do that. But I would much rather be creating. And so learning how to balance that where I don't feel burnout from all the business end and still being able to be creative in that season as well has been a big learning curve in juggling all that.
And I feel like that was probably the impetus for me to create a lot of our creator services that we have available from the Scene projects now, because I've kind of fallen in love more with the marketing side and now the promotion side. We have TV deals with fast streaming platforms like Roku. We use a platform called True TV Plus that's allowed us to now bring in other artists and to build a channel underneath their umbrella. We have our own internet radio station because we saw the need from our own selves that like it's really hard to crack into these things, and it's hard for artists to dig into all the different places. Where can we alleviate some of that pressure so that when someone falls into the podcast, which we never charge people to be on the podcast, that we're able to go, hey, here's the laundry list of things that we can provide for you and to help you along that path, so that our artists around us can focus more on the creative process, right? I think, I'm probably past the that creative juice part of my life, right? In my 20s, I felt like I was writing a song every day, right? Everything was flowing out of me. Now it's a lot more space in between that, but I still have 20 years to go back on of songs that I've written that haven't even seen the light of day yet. So I'm like working through this back catalog of songs, and we just released an album of 5 that have been, some of them are teenagers, right? These songs were written when I was a totally different man, but now they're finally getting to see the light of day as, actual releases. And it's like, I have enough material in my back catalog to keep me moving for the next several years. Let's focus on the other parts of it and building out not just, how to do it to get yourself on other stations, but to build our own stations so that we can be that, a little bit faster on ramp for some of the people around us.
Yeah. Yeah, that is great. And it is so nice to meet people in the industry because like I said, as a creative, I prefer this part, but like you said, there's so many different aspects of the industry. And I think a lot of people, especially just between myself and my sister, we're also music educators. And my sister, more than me, she has a doctorate in music education, but she teaches private music lessons, and so many kids come and they want to learn how to play the instrument, which is fantastic. It's great. It's a great place to start. But as they start getting older, that's not what they want to do. They don't want to be, a performer on that instrument, but they still love music. And there's not really a lot of information out there for them of all the vastness of the industry and the different things you can do in it. And everybody's got a passion for something different. And so that's great that, you found that and said, look, I can help artists in this aspect with something that maybe most of them would probably prefer not to do.
Right. And I think that's kind of how I fell into podcasting in general. Like I went out and we had, a few years ago now that I was releasing new music. I was fortunate to get on our local TV stations. I did a couple of podcasts, got on the radio and everything. And having done all of that, I looked around and it was like, well, that was it. Right. And it took me a lot of work to get all of that. Right. So it was more of like, well, how do you streamline this process? How does someone land with you, does an interview that's like, okay, this could go to our radio, TV, podcast all in one spot. And I don't need Emily to show up 3 different times to get that. You were able to just come one time, sit down, have a conversation. And now it's going on to all these different platforms. So we've been slowly growing that. The podcast is only about 18 months old. So all of this is really new. we're new members of, we mentioned ISSA, the Josie Music Awards will be covering, and just really kind of cannonballing into their world this weekend as we're recording this, right? But we're also members of the Midwest Country Music Organization, which really gave us a platform to step in and to support that group of artists, right? So now we kind of have a model for how we do things. We also now just teamed up with One Life Podcast and Music Academy to include them into what we're doing. So we host an academy on our website now for educators like yourself to at least house that. Like we don't own anything there, but it's a place where, hey, here's all of these music educators that are already out there. Now they can have, a platform here with us that we can funnel all of these artists into. And really it takes a team effort to make all of this to fruition. And with so many independent artists in the world right now, we'll never have a lack of clientele, and I'll never feel like there's a competition out there for clients, because there could be a million of these and there still wouldn't be enough.
Right. Absolutely.
So Emily, before I let you go, I'd love to hear a little bit of, what the style of your music is. I know that you play a bunch of different instruments. You probably have, you got a Dean Martin record behind you. I don't think many 26-year-olds even know who Dean Martin is, to be perfectly honest. But what's kind of your style, and what does the music sound like?
That was something that I really had to put a lot of thought into, figuring out how to describe my music when I was first getting ready to release it. I'm inspired by all music. I believe that genres are just there to be descriptors. They are not there to be labels and boxes that we have to keep ourselves in, as much as some of the industry may try and tell you that. But I grew up listening to such a wide variety of music: classical music, country, and folk. I loved John Denver and Johnny Cash and Randy Travis growing up. And my family played country music, and my parents listened to the Bee Gees and Billy Joel and Sister Sledge and Jim Croce. So I had such a wide variety of music growing up. I got into people like Dean Martin and Bing Crosby and Wayne Newton, and I just love good music is really the best way to describe it. And so a lot of my musical influence, I'm a classically trained opera singer, so a lot of my vocal style tends to lean in that direction. But obviously, the music from the 20s, 30s, 40s is a big influence in my music, but I also write sometimes in more of a folk style. So I just sort of have this philosophy in music that you can be inspired by all things all at once, whether it's old, whether it's new, or whether it's this genre or that style. And so I came up with a term, maybe it'll become a genre someday, called nouveau classic. And it's the bringing together of the old and the new, and making something brand new out of it. And so that's what I call my music.
I love it. I'm sure you've heard this before, but Emily, you have a very old soul, and that's very apparent. Just having even a short conversation with you. I grew up on mostly classic rock, but hippie music, right? My parents were Deadheads. So a lot of Grateful Dead in the house, but my mom loves blues music. She's really into Billy Strings now as well. So I came from a household that had a very wide varying music history. My dad was really into, the early 80s hair, Judas Priest and the Scorpions and AC/DC. So a lot of different influences in my world. And then I grew up listening to bands like the Red Hot Chili Peppers and Sublime. And then it really hard not to be influenced by, 90s rap and hip hop music as well. I came up with a term for mine I call modern gypsy rock. And that was what I was just like, what? We are, it is what it is. And I grew up in the Midwest. So I kind of drew influences from a lot of those places, right? And all the places that I've traveled to. So I understand the exactly what you were saying there about, I've never been one to put myself in a box. And I also don't want to put anyone else in a box. Even our radio station, we play all the different kinds of music. And I say that it's kind of a soundtrack of my life, right? We have the podcast episodes on there as well. And you're hearing all these different people. It's why I started the Midwest Original Music Organization. It's like, I don't care what you call your music. Is it you? Okay, then it's welcome here. And I just love that about you. And I love that you're embracing it, because I think a lot of young people that are trying to get into the industry are molding themselves to try to fit into some box that
Mhm.
isn't even going to be popular in a few years. By the time you fit in that box, the industry has moved on. So what's the point?
Yeah. Right. Yeah, absolutely. You never go out of style. The trends may come and go, but you, unique as you are, how you were created to be, will never go out of style if you are authentic to that. And I've definitely had the people in the industry. I've had offers from people who wanted to represent me, who wanted me to sign with them if I would conform. And I said, no way. I can't do that to myself. I can't do that to the calling that I feel God's put on my life. I would be lying to myself and everybody else, and it would be very apparent.
Good for you. I love that. And at a very young, tender age, I know 26 doesn't feel as young. You're still very young. Um, but good for you. And
Thank
to
you.
stand up to these people, because especially when you have this dream, right? When you start getting these offers, it's very hard for young people to say no. And I'm sure that, your parents had some influence on that, and your sister, being a music educator herself, right, had some influence to say, hey, really think about this. Where I
Mhm.
feel like a lot of young artists get into trouble is that they don't have that support. Their parents aren't in the music industry, or having mentors in that. And it's a big reason why I'm doing what I'm doing, is to be that mentor, to say, hey, you don't have to sign these deals, right? Just
Yeah.
because they're putting it out there, you probably don't want it anyway, especially in today's age of the music business. Why would you want to give away any of your control over your career and your life and your, I mean, really your passion, your heart, your everything? To give that away just seems senseless in this day.
Yeah, and I think as we're seeing with the rise in indie artists and these new styles, and is that you don't have to. It's being proved, and I'm hoping that new people coming into the industry can see that look, we've made this path for you, so you don't have to even think about that anymore. We were showing you that it can be done this way. So yeah, I it's just really important.
Yeah, and it's not easy. It's a lot of freaking work.
Oh yeah.
Like I am up here and grinding away. And granted, the podcast is a big part of what we do now, and I spend a lot of time doing that. But I mean, I'm working 12 to 18 hours a day. I'm waking up in
Hmm.
the middle of the night going, "Oh my God, I forgot to do this," and getting in the studio and hammering away on some marketing or whatever. And I have a pretty substantial team behind me at this point of producers and people that are posting for us and doing a lot of things that there's no way I could do it all on my own. And in an essence, that's why we are stepping into this creator, offering services and offering, the academy and all these things to help people shorten that learning curve. Hey, here's all the
Hmm.
things that we've already learned. We're going to save you some time. It may cost you a little money, but that time that you've saved may help you get to the point where you're selling out theaters and stuff a lot sooner than you might have been, having to go
Hmm.
through and learn all the things the hard way, as I have, and a great many people around me. So,
Yeah.
Emily, thank you for so much insight today on the podcast. This has been thrilling. Before I let you go, just a chance to plug everything and let people know where they can find you.
Yeah, well, thank you so much for having me. I really enjoyed chatting with you. And you can find me just by searching my name on any of the platforms on Google, Emily E. Fink. Believe it or not, the E in between there is very important because there are other Emily Finks that also sing. So if you just search Emily E. Fink, all my social media handles are under that. You can find everything linked on my website as well on all the streaming platforms. It's just Emily E. Fink.
Fantastic. Well, Emily, thank you so much for your time today. And thank you for being part of the scene.
Thank you.